Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Quarantining with Pastor Michelle. Today is Sunday, May 24th, and it is a holiday weekend. So I do hope all of you are doing as well as you can be. And so without further ado, let's get started. As you can see, I just lost my connection, but we're back on. So let's begin with some reflections. Home is the slumping drop of luggage on floors that bear the ghostly footprints of your motion. The light is a lambent thing that fills right on your shoulders, so that walking here after time away is a convergence of energies. Past, present, and future allow you floating passage on the way to a collection of nows that beat in your chest, settle on you lightly, glitter in your eyes, and lodge in your mind. Lodge in your mind as reflection, introspection, and awareness. The shadow of the one you were before you left occupies a space in the corner as you re-enter and engage fully in simple, effortless things you do every day with what you come to recognize as love. Keep what's true in front of you. Old man said, "You won't get lost that way." I was asking about making my way through the bush. He was talking about making my way through life. Turns out, all these years later, it was the same conversation. And so keep what's true in front of you. And so I like to think that maybe that means to just be true to yourself. And so let's begin with a little bit of prayer. Our Father and Mother who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. So I wanted to just start out, before we get into Hunger Games and finish up this current chapter we're on, just wanted to say, as you can tell, maybe you can't tell, but I'm in my office, so we're getting ready in about an hour and a half to have our 10 o'clock online worship service via Facebook. And I just wanted to point out, there's been a lot of controversy since Friday, I think it was Friday, one of those days, where the president announced that churches should be open and that they're essential. And I said this yesterday, but I just want to point out that I do agree that churches are essential, but I don't believe that we should be officially opening, and having face-to-face service, no matter what our leadership says. And to just point out, too, that just because we aren't having face-to-face services doesn't mean that our church is not functioning right now. We are not on hiatus. We're not taking a break. We are still doing and acting out our call. And our call is to spread the kingdom of God as much as we can here on earth. And we are continuing to do that. I believe that we are just finding new ways to do what we have always done. You know, we are still having worship. People are still forming a community, even if it's on Facebook Live. And we are still serving our community by serving meals at the homeless shelter once a month. We are still, our other pastors having an online book study, and I'm going to do an online book study this summer. So I just want to point out that just because a church isn't like officially open, you know, with the office doors open, doesn't mean that church is not doing anything. I don't know why I said all that. I think I said all that because it's a Sunday. But I just encourage everyone to stay safe out there. If you're going to make a statement, wear a mask. I know that I've seen some posts where people are saying, you know, they're making a statement. They're proud to be an American because they're not wearing a mask. And, you know, if you wind up giving someone germs and they get COVID, I don't want that to mean being an American. You know, that sucks. So, you know, I think being an American means that you are smart and you follow science as much as possible, and you wear a mask. It's not really that hard of a, it's scientific, it's scientifically proven that the masks do help. I know the internet's full of stuff, but anyway, that's my soapbox again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get on it. I'm just amazed, I guess. So many people not wearing masks. I guess I don't get how they think that's such a powerful political statement, not wearing one. So anyway, sorry. So let's get into Hunger Games, shall we? I just wanted to throw my 2 cents out there. I'm sorry. Lately I've just been feeling a little frustrated by that whole thing. I just would hate to see our numbers continue to rise even more so because people are gathered together and they're breathing on each other. And so I just encourage all of you to stay safe out there. So let's continue Hunger Games and let's finish up chapter 3. And so last time, yesterday, we had Katniss saying goodbye to her family and friends, including Gale. So right now she's actually still in the conversation with Gale. Yes, there's usually, and so they're having a conversation. They're just talking about previous Hunger Games where the last time everyone just froze to death because it was so cold. So let's continue on with Hunger Games. Yes, there's usually some, I say. Katniss, it's just hunting. You're the best hunter I know, says Gale. It's not just hunting. They're armed, they think. So do you. And you've had more practice, real practice, he says. You know how to kill. Not people. How different can it be, really? Says Gale grimly. The awful thing is that if I can forget their people, it will be no different at all. The peacekeepers are back too soon, and Gale asks for more time, but they're taking him away, and I start to panic. Don't let them starve, I cry out, clinging to his hand. I won't. You know I won't, Katniss. Remember, he says, and they yank us apart and slam the door, and I'll never know what it was he wanted me to remember. It's a short ride from the Justice Building to the train station. I've never been in a car before, rarely even ridden in wagons. In the scene, we travel only on foot. It's been right not to cry. The station is swarming with reporters with their insect-like cameras trained directly on my face, but I've had a lot of practice at wiping my face clean of emotions, and I do this now. I catch a glimpse of myself on the TV screen on the wall that's airing my arrival live and feel gratified that I appear almost bored. Peeta Mellark, on the other hand, has obviously been crying and, interestingly enough, does not seem to be trying to cover it up. I immediately wonder if this will be his strategy in the games, to appear weak and frightened, to reassure the other tributes that he is no competition at all, and then come out fighting. This worked very well for a girl, Johanna Manson, from District 7. A few years back. She seemed like a sniveling, cowardly fool that no one bothered about her until there were only a handful of contestants left. Turned out that she could kill viciously. Pretty clever the way she played it, but this seems an odd strategy for Peeta because he's a baker's son. All those years of having enough to eat and hauling bread trays around have made him broad-shouldered and strong. It will take an awful lot of weeping to convince anyone to overlook him. We have to stand for a few minutes in the doorway of the train while the cameras gobble up our images. Then we're allowed inside and the doors close mercifully behind us. The train begins to move at once. The speed initially takes my breath away. Of course, I've never been on a train, as travel between the districts is forbidden except for officially sanctioned duties. For us, that's mainly transporting coal, but this is no ordinary coal train. It's one of the high-speed capital models that average 250 miles per hour. Our journey to the capital will take less than a day. In school, they tell us that the capital was built in a place once called the Rockies. District 12 was in a region known as Appalachia. Even hundreds of years ago, they mined coal here, which is why our miners have to dig so deep. Somehow it all comes back to coal at school, because besides basic reading and math, most of our instruction is coal-related, except for the weekly lecture on the history of Panem. It's mostly a lot of blather about what we owe the capital. I know there must be more than they're telling us, an actual amount of what happened during the rebellion, but I don't spend much time thinking about it. Whatever the truth is, I don't see how it will help me get food on the table. The tribute train is fancier than even the room in the Justice Building. We are each given our own chambers that have a bedroom, a dressing area, and a private bathroom with hot and cold running water. We don't have hot water at home unless we boil it. There are drawers filled with fine clothes, and Effie Trinket tells me to do anything I want, wear anything I want. Everything is at my disposal. Just be ready for supper in an hour. I peel off my mother's blue dress and take a hot shower. I've never had a shower before. It's like being in a summer rain, only warmer. I dress in a dark green shirt and pants. At the last minute, I remember Madge's little gold pen. For the first time, I get a good look at it. It's as if someone fashioned a small golden bird and then attached a ring around it. The bird is connected to the ring only by its wingtips. I suddenly recognize it. A mocking jay. And there's the mocking jay right there. They're funny birds and something of a slap in the face to the Capitol. During the rebellion, the Capitol bred a series of genetically altered animals as weapons. The common term for them was mutations, or sometimes mutts for short. One was a special bird called a jabberjay that had the ability to memorize and appear whole human and repeat whole human conversations. They were homing birds, exclusively male. They were released into regions where the Capitol's enemies were known to be hiding. After the birds gathered words, they fly back to centers to be recorded. It took people a while to realize what was going on in the districts, how private conversations were being transmitted. Then, of course, the rebels fed the Capitol endless lies, and the joke was on it. So the centers were shut down, and the birds were abandoned to die off in the wild. Only they didn't die off. Instead, the jabberjays mated with female mockingbirds, creating a whole new species that could replicate both bird whistles and human melodies. They had lost the ability to enunciate words, but could still mimic a range of human vocal sounds, from a child's high-pitched warble to a man's deep tones. And they could recreate songs, not just a few notes, but whole songs with multiple verses, if you had the patience to sing them and if they liked your voice. My father was particularly fond of mockingjays when we went hunting. He would whistle or sing complicated songs to them, and after a polite pause, they'd always sing back. Not everyone is treated with such respect, but whenever my father sang, all the birds in the area would fall silent and listen. His voice was that beautiful, high and clear, and so filled with life it made you want to laugh and cry at the same time. Could never bring myself to continue the practice after he was gone. Still, there's something comforting about the little bird. It's like having a piece of my father with me, protecting me. I fastened the pin onto my shirt, and with the dark green fabric as a background, I can almost imagine the mockingjay flying through the trees. Effie Trinket comes to collect me for supper. I follow her through the narrow rocking corridor into a dining room with polished panel walls. There's a table where all the dishes are highly breakable. Peter Malark sits waiting for us, and the chair next to him is empty. "Where's Haymitch?" asks Effie Trinket brightly. "Last time I saw him, he said he was going to take a nap." "Well, it has been an exhausting day," says Effie Trinket. "I think she's relieved by Haymitch's absence, and who can blame her?" The supper comes in courses: a thick carrot soup, green salad, lamb chops and mashed potatoes, cheese and fruit, and a chocolate cake. Throughout the meal, Effie Trinket keeps reminding us to save space because there's more to come. But I'm stuffing myself because I've never had food like this, so good and so much, and because probably the best thing I can do between now and the games is to put on a few pounds. "At least you two have decent manners," says Effie as we're finishing the main course. The pair last year ate everything with their hands like a couple of savages. It completely upset my digestion. The pair last year were two kids from the seam who'd never, not one day of their lives, had enough to eat. And when they did have food, table manners were surely the last thing on their mind. Peta is a baker's son. My mother taught Prim and me to eat properly, so yes, I can handle a fork and a knife, but I hate Effie Trinket's comments so much I make a point of eating the rest of my meal with my fingers. Then I wipe my hands on the tablecloth. This makes her purse her lips tightly together. Now that the meal's over, I'm fighting to keep the food down. I can see Peta's looking a little green too. Neither of our stomachs is used to such rich fare. But if I can hold down Greasy Say's concoction of mice meat, pig entrails, and tree bark, yummy, a winter specialty, I'm determined to hang on to this. We go to another compartment to watch the recap of the reapings across Panem. They try to stagger them throughout the day so a person could conceivably watch the whole thing live. But only people in the Capitol could really do that, since none of them have to attend reapings themselves. One by one, we see the other reapings, the name called, the volunteers stepping forward, or more often not. We examine the faces of the kids who will be our competition. A few stand out in my mind. A monstrous boy who lunges forward to volunteer from District 2, a fox-faced girl with sleek red hair from District 5, a boy with a crippled foot from District 10, and most hauntingly, a 12-year-old girl from District 11. She has dark brown skin and eyes, but other than that, she's very like Prim in size and demeanor. Only when she mounts the stage and they ask for volunteers, all you can hear is the wind whistling through the decrepit buildings around her. There's no one willing to take her place. Last of all, they show District 12, Prim being called, me running forward to volunteer. You can't miss the desperation in my voice as I shove Prim behind me as if I'm afraid no one will hear and they'll take Prim anyway. But of course they do hear. I see Gail pulling her off me and watch myself mount the stage. The commentators are not sure what to say about the crowd's refusal to applaud. The silent salute. One says that District 12 has always been a bit backward. but that local customs can be changing. As if on cue, Haymitch falls off the stage and they groan comically. Peeta's name is drawn and he quietly takes his place. We shake hands, they cut to the anthem again, and the program ends. Effie Trinket is disgruntled about the state her wig was in. Your mentor has a lot to learn about presentation, a lot about televised behavior. Peeta unexpectedly laughs. He was drunk, says Peeta. He's drunk every year. Every day, I add. I can't help smirking a little. Effie Trinket makes it sound like Haymitch just has somewhat rough manners that could be corrected with a few tips from her. Yes, hisses Effie Trinket. How odd you two find it amusing. You know your mentor is your lifeline to the world in these games. The one who advises you, lines up your sponsors, and dictates the presentation of any gifts. Haymitch can well be the difference between your life and your death. Just then Haymitch staggers into the compartment. I missed supper, he says in a slurred voice. Then he vomits all over the expensive carpet and falls in the mess. So laugh away, says Effie Trinket. She hops in her pointy shoes around the pool of vomit and flees the room. All right, so that concludes this chapter of Hunger Games. And we'll continue on tomorrow. And if you have not seen the movie Hunger Games, just so you can get an idea of who plays Haymitch, I just know it's Woody Harrelson. So anyway, I do hope all of you have a wonderful Sunday. And God bless all of you. And stay safe out there.